Hey everyone, it's Stephanie here with a video for My Favorite Things. In today's video, I'm going to be recreating this card that was created by design team member Melania for the September 2016 release from My Favorite Things. So to start off, I'm going to be using the geometric greenery stamp set, and I have a piece of vellum here that I've already cut down to 4 inches by 5.5 inches, and I'm going to do some stamping on this piece of vellum. So for my stamping, I'm going to be using Versamark ink because we're going to be doing heat embossing with gold embossing powder. So I have my dish of gold embossing powder all ready to go, and I'm just going to use the different leaves in this stamp set to stamp a bunch of leaves all over this vellum piece. I've already used my anti-static tool to kind of pre-treat this vellum piece so that I can kind of contain the static that's going to come from the embossing powder. And now I'm just going to go ahead and start stamping. So with Versamark ink, it is a clear ink, so sometimes it's kind of hard to see where you've stamped. So I like to add my embossing powder onto the stamped image after I've stamped it as I move along. I don't heat set it, I just go ahead and stamp, add the embossing powder, and then once I have everything fully stamped and the embossing powder fully on, then I run it with my heat gun to set all the embossing powder. Now I found with the vellum I could kind of see a little bit better where I was stamping, so it worked a little bit easier for me to be able to stamp a couple leaves at a time and then add the embossing powder on top. So I'm just kind of working around with the design of this card. All the leaves are kind of concentrated in the center area of the panel. Once we completely adhere everything together, you're not actually going to even see the top and bottom part of the vellum. So I'm not worrying about putting any leaf images there. I'm just kind of making sure to fill up the center area so that I have a nice full panel when I'm done. So now you can see I have all of the rest of the embossing powder on the stamp leaves. And if you get any embossing powder where you don't want it, especially with vellum because the oils from your finger can kind of make the embossing powder stick where you don't want it, just take a paintbrush and kind of wipe away any excess powder. And now I've ran this through my heat gun and you can see the amazing embossing that I have on this sheet. It's so vivid and the gold is just so beautiful against the vellum. And now we're going to take it even a step further and we're going to add some color to this piece. So what I'm doing is I'm flipping the vellum upside down. You don't want to add any color directly onto the embossed areas. You want to color from the back side. And this is going to show through the vellum since it is transparent. And you're going to have a kind of a slightly lighter color than what you're actually coloring with because it's not fully transparent. There is some opaqueness to the vellum. So I'm using some pretty bright, vivid colors. I'm using an orange, a pink, and a green. But these are super dark colors if I was to color on like white cardstock, for example. But because I'm coloring on the vellum, when I flip it over, you see the great color, but it's not super, super vibrant. It's just perfectly shows through just enough so that you can see this great orange color. And I'm just going ahead and adding this all over the leaves that I want to add it to. I don't really have any plan as I'm laying down this color. I'm just kind of picking open areas and adding some orange to all of the different leaves. And then I'm going to go in with my next color, which is the green, and I'm going to pick some more of the open areas and continue to add in the color. And as I go, I'm just leaving some open areas left for the pink as well, since I know I'll be adding that in. And I'm just kind of speeding through this and doing all of the coloring on these leaves. Now these colors go really well together. I love the final look of this card with these three colors together. I just think they look so nice when you flip the vellum over and you have that great gold embossed detail in addition to the various colors on these leaves. These are a really fun stamp. This is a really fun stamp set, and these leaves have so much different things you can do with them because of the great geometric designs on the inside of each of the leaves. So now I'm just finishing up the coloring. It's all done there. And now when I flip it over and lay it against the white, you can see the beautiful color that I have inside each of those leaves with that gold embossed detail on top. It's just so pretty and kind of looks kind of like a stained glass look. So I really love the final result of this stamping and embossing. Now for the card base that I'm going to adhere this to, I'm just taking some insulation pink dye ink and I'm just adding some ink directly from the ink pad right to my cardstock panel, and this is just going to give me a light pink color on the top and bottom portions of the card. And now I'm going to take the Stepped Up Chevron Dynamics die and I'm going to cut this straight through a panel of cardstock that I've already trimmed down to 2.5 by 5.5 inches. And what this is going to do is it's going to cut it right in half and leave this great chevron pattern on both sides of that cut panel. And it also gives you this fun little chevron little strip there, but we're not going to be using that on this card. Instead, we want to use the top and bottom area to add some detail to our finished card design. So I'm stamping the many thanks sentiment onto the bottom area of those two panels we just trimmed down. And now I'm going to adhere my vellum piece to my cardstock panel. Now, since I'm going to be covering up the top and bottom portions of this vellum piece, it doesn't matter that I have some of that adhesive showing through because you're not going to see it once we finish the card design. So I'm just really pressing down and making sure that that's nice and adhered onto my panel. And now I'm going to take some foam adhesive and add it to the back areas of both of these chevron strips that we've created. And then I'm going to adhere these directly onto my card base. So what I'm doing is I'm just taking off the liner from the foam adhesive, and then I'm just going to line up these two panel pieces in line with the edge of the vellum panel. And that's going to allow me to cover up all the adhesive, but we're still going to see the insulation pink on the top and bottom just to kind of give it a little bit of extra detail. And then to finish off the card, we're just going to add a few clear sequins in some of the open areas on that vellum strip, and then that's going to complete today's card. So thank you so much for watching. We hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you in the next one.